views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello, everyone, and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren, Jaime, and today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough, as well as across New York City. Coming up on today's show, we go front and center discussing how COVID-19 has impacted lawyers and their practices. And then afterwards, we'll learn how social media affects copyright and trademark protection. Then, a little later on in the show, we're going to introduce you to pharmacies and talk about how they're dealing with the effects and impacts of COVID-19. And then, FreshDirect is debuting a restaurant-inspired product for customers to enjoy. We'll bring you more information. And then a little later on in the show, we'll discuss what people can do to recover from the pandemic. And finally, we'll talk about how one company is providing services to help disinfect your homes and businesses. So stay with us because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. Hello, everyone. I'm Daren, Jaime, and you are watching Open. Today is Wednesday, April 14th, and you're watching the show that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. We also want to welcome our viewers watching on Manhattan Neighborhood Network as Open is being broadcast live on the MNN channel. We invite you to stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms. That's BronxNet TV, and then also our website at www.bronxnet.org. Well, a lot has been going on through the past week. We can't take you through everything in the city and the borough, but we can take you through a couple of things with our Bronx updates. We start off with coronavirus news. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced a new standard for closing schools in coronavirus outbreaks. New York City public schools will close for 10 days only if 4 COVID-19 cases in different classrooms are traced to the school. Now, Mayor Bill de Blasio also said individual classrooms will continue to close if the coronavirus is detected, and officials will ramp up testing, but entire buildings will not close unless 4 COVID cases are detected in separate classrooms within 7 days and are traced to a source in the school. In other news, the mayor also announced New York City's public beaches and outdoor pools will open on time for the 2021 season after facing a delayed and limited opening last year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the opening includes all 8 public beaches and 48 outdoor pools. Beaches will open on Memorial Day weekend on Saturday, May 29th, and outdoor pools across the city will open the day after the last day of school on Saturday, June 26th. Both areas will have safety protocols enforced. Well, those are all the time we have for our updates. We encourage you to stay connected. We got a full show here on Open. We'll continue right after this break. And welcome back to the show. As the world is reshaped by the COVID-19 pandemic, many industries will experience a transformation. The pandemic has changed the legal landscape and has also reshaped how many lawyers operate. Law firms across the country are innovating ways to continue to serve their clients while also trying to avoid financial disaster. While also doing this, they also are trying to make the best of a bad situation. And the question is, what influence has COVID made on the practice of law? And what will this mean moving forward? Joining us now to share a little bit more of the conversation, joined by the attorney and host of today's verdict, David Lesch, my friend and brother. David, good to have you back here on Open.
Daren, it's always good to see you. It's like coming home.
Anytime we talk about today's verdict, we have to talk about Open. That's where you first got your start, right?
That's everything. It's everything for me. I miss you guys, and hopefully we'll be in the studio soon. We could do this from there. I do have an update for you. It looks like in Brooklyn, federal courts will have their first jury trial, and that's going to start on Monday. It's just quite amazing in terms of what they have to do to get this off the ground. I think you'll be extremely impressed with the walkie-talkies that have to be used, so you could have a conversation with the judge, with your adversary, without going up to the bench and whispering. Like when you go up to the bench during a trial.
Yeah.
So now you can talk to the judge with your adversary on the walkie-talkie, and the judge has a walkie-talkie, because you can't go up to the bar and whisper, so the jury doesn't hear anymore.
Right.
By the way, and the jury is behind plexiglass, so that in itself is a little strange. And the microphones and the things you need to use so that the jury hears you, forget about the double masking and the temperature taking, but we're doing everything we can to try and get back to some type of normalcy. I've been lucky in terms of my practice. I haven't had any trials that I've needed to really do. Most of my cases have been settling. I've been going to mediation on my cases, virtual depositions, virtual conferences. Right now, I'm at my kitchen table. This is where I've been filming today's verdict. This is where I have all my conferences with the court. It's one of the easier things that has transpired as a result of COVID. But the hardest part of the legal landscape is the trials. And we have a lot of trial attorneys who are unhappy because they can't get into the courtroom. There are very few trials that are even allowed to go on right now. They're very difficult. There was one very famous case in New York about 2 weeks ago with an attorney who refused to put his mask on during the trial because he was having difficulty breathing. The trial judge didn't accept that, dismissed the case. Now it's on appeal. There's been outrage in the legal community about it because this was an elderly gentleman who was having difficulty just talking, and he tried to get the judge to give him permission to continue the trial without the mask. The judge wasn't going for it. So these are all new things that we're dealing with. And there are per diem attorneys who are hired by other attorneys to go into court and cover cases for you. They're hurting. They're not making any money.
Right.
Complete industry has just shut down for them. So, it's the have and have nots in all aspects of COVID.
Let me ask the question here, because when you talk about how this has actually reshaped the landscape of the courtroom and also for lawyers, is it true that we're seeing a lot more people actually settle on cases simply to take the money, because we don't know how long before you get into a courtroom, how long before you get with the jury?
That's correct. And by the way, it's on both sides. Even the defense side, the insurance companies, don't want to sit around with these cases also. And if they know they can move a case for 80% of the value as opposed to 100% of the value, they'll move the case too. So everyone's happy. The problem, Daren, is the very, very heavy cases, the ones, over $1 million. Those are difficult cases to move sometimes unless you're actually picking a jury. That's what really forces both sides to get together and realize, I'm paying a lot of money for the experts. A lot of people are going to come into this courtroom. It costs a lot of money. Maybe we should just settle. And that's not happening with the big cases. But the smaller cases, yes, my clients are I tell them what's going on. I say, look, you're not going to get a trial in a year, maybe 2 years. You don't really know. So they're offering X amount of money. I suggest you take it. And most of them do. Almost all of them do. And the insurance companies also have been very forthcoming with offers, because they want to move the stuff too. And the judges who have been online have been trying to move the cases. So that has been a little bit of a blessing. But of course, There are areas, where the trial work is suffering, and that we're going to have to wait a little bit for that.
Are we seeing more cases develop simply? I mean, a lot of people have been staying home, but in the fact of staying home, are you seeing still an insurgence of cases? I know that on the side, when you talk about landlord-tenant disputes, that's going through the roof. But on the other side, in the area in which you deal, talk to me about what you're seeing.
Well, it's a mixed bag. I mean, at first there weren't a lot of people driving, so there weren't a lot of car accidents. Now, unfortunately, there are a lot of car accidents. People were staying in their apartments. The leaky ceilings are still there. So, it's the leaky ceilings fall on people and they get hurt. That's been happening. But there are, of course, going to be certain areas where people are not living as much, going out as much, walking the sidewalks as much. The things that lead to accidents. Medical malpractice. Nobody's seeing their doctors as much. Nobody's going in there for issues. So I guess it's been a mix. Getting the cases in has been, hit or miss. I know a lot of attorneys who are hurting, who have not been getting the cases. We've been lucky because our old clients have been referring new clients. So we do see it. There's been a little bit of a decline, but not that much. So basically, there are certain industries that are hit more than others during COVID. Obviously, let's say the travel industry. In my industry, there are areas within the legal industry that are being hit. So I wouldn't necessarily say that personal injury is being hit as hard, but if you're a trial attorney, you're getting hit. And if you're trying to get many cases in the door, you're probably getting hit. But as anything, I think we're slowly coming at it.
I want to look at some numbers here and give me your thoughts. I mean, we have these numbers here that are regards to what actually law offices have had to contend with during this time. Law firms had some serious issues. 46% reduced partner draws, 40% reduced the salaries of fee earners, 34% furloughed support staff, 32% reduced the salaries of support staff, 36% discharged support staff, 11 discharged fee earners, and 79% of small firms and 46% of large firms received government support, mostly through PPP.
Well,
we've never seen this before.
No, it's billing. I mean, think about it. Think about it, Daren. It's billing. If you're an attorney and you bill for an hour on the subway to get to the court. You bill for 2 hours while you're in the court. You bill for the hour back to the office. You bill for a half an hour to write up what happened. You're not doing that now. You can do it through your phone. You don't have to the commute. You don't bill for the commute. Well, if there's less billable hours, you're obviously not billing the insurance company as much, which means that you're not paying the attorneys as much, which means you have to let attorneys go. Which if you let attorneys go, you let go their assistants, you let go their paralegals, and it just keeps going and going and going. So yeah, those numbers are correct. It depends on the type of law that you're doing and the kind of work. Obviously, employment lawyers now, if you're dealing with COVID issues, well, they're booming because there are a lot of issues that are being lawsuits are being brought about COVID and whether or not somebody was wrongfully terminated, those types of things. That comes out. It depends on where you are in the legal industry, but you are correct. Many people have lost their job and many people are losing income. It's the have and it's the have-nots. In that's what COVID is. It's just some are the same. Some are even making more money. It just depends on where you are. It just hits different people differently.
In about a minute or less, can you summarize for me what can we expect to see short-term happening in the future by way of the court system?
I think a lot of this is here to stay, and I'm happy about it. I don't mind practicing many aspects of law from home. I have interviewed many different people from nursing homes this week on behalf of the court as a court evaluator. I didn't have to go to any nursing homes, which I've done. I've been to 50 nursing homes. As I do some Article 81 guardianship work, I don't have to do that. Much easier through the phones or through Zoom, FaceTime, whatever you want to say. I'd like that to stay. I don't want that to change. I don't think we can have a lot of conferences this way again. There are aspects that I think should stay and I think will stay. The judges like it, the attorneys like it. People can stay home with respect to childcare. However, when it comes to trials, has to go back because that has to be in person. You can't do that virtually. You cannot have jurors, one at a time on their phones. It's just not a jury room, and anybody else can talk to them while they're listening to the trial. It's just rife for misconduct. It's not going to happen. So the quick answer: some stuff's going to stay, some stuff's going to go back to the way it was. We're just going to have to wait to see for about 6 months.
All right, David, we're going to leave it there. Well, we
All right.
want to let you know, thanks a lot, buddy, for being with us. And as always, great insight. And we know that, we talk about everybody being affected, but to hear from what actually lawyers are going from that perspective, very intriguing. Dave, thanks a lot.
Anytime, Daren. We'll see you soon.
All right, we'll see you soon, buddy. Listen, I want to let you know if you want more information about David and his show, Today's Verdict, what I want you to do is follow him on social media and Twitter at David Lesch and also at Today's Verdict. We do have more show. We encourage you to stay with us. Open will return coming up right after this.
When taking public transportation, don't touch your phone. Carry hand sanitizer and use it immediately upon leaving the bus or train. Avoid touching your face. If someone is coughing or sneezing, move away. Wash your hands with soap and water as soon as possible. Limit contact with poles. If possible, avoid rush hour. Don't eat or drink on public transportation. Keep your bag off the floor or other surfaces. Avoid directly touching turnstiles. Stay up to date with the latest from your local health department and CDC.
And we are back here on the show. Well, if you don't know, social media has become an important tool to connect with one another and as a means to promote one's business ideas. Visibility of products or services is just a few clicks away on the internet. However, social media networks pose a challenge for trademark and copyright laws. To protect your business's social media and beyond, you should understand the importance of registering for federal trademark protection and copywriting your intellectual property. Joining us now to tell us and share a little bit more about this and to continue in the conversation is the partner at Twomey, Latham, Shea, Kelley, Dubin, and Quartararo, LLP, Kathryn and Dalli. And thank you, Kathryn, for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Glad to be back with you.
Yeah, good to be back. And, last time we were talking a little bit about copyrights and trademark. And we talked a little bit the last time about this one thing that we had to pick up on, which was social media. And when we look at social media, so many people are on social media. And I watch, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, you could see pictures, you could see things, and people will take them and make them their own. And we know that legally, this is a big no-no.
That's right, Daren. It's a big problem today because of everyone being on social media. And I think, as I mentioned the last time I was on, just because something is out there on the internet doesn't mean it's for the taking. Not anybody can just go and grab a picture from a website or Insta or anywhere and use it for their own uses. That is called infringement. So people need to be very, very aware of that. There are two different things. There's copyright, which would apply to photographs, articles, original works of authorship, and then names. And names are trademarks, whether they're registered or not. You can't use somebody's brand name to, for instance, as a link or as a search tool, okay? Sometimes people will, if they're optimizing their search capabilities, they use keywords. And sometimes people take names or brand names and use them as their keywords for getting people attracted to their website. That's not legal. You can't use somebody else's name to bring people to your site. So there are several different things working in the internet and social media age that are fraught with the possibility of trademark and copyright infringement.
So I guess now if somebody's out there and they're saying, listen, I got good product, I have intellectual property, and I'll give you a chance to explain intellectual property in my next question. I've got this intellectual property, but I need to protect it. What are the ways, or what are the steps that need to be taken to protect one's intellectual property? Better yet, what belongs to me?
Okay. Intellectual property is comprised of copyrights, trademarks, and patents. Patents are inventions. Copyright, as I mentioned earlier, is an original work of authorship, such as taking a photograph, a poem, a song, writing an article. And trademark is a name or a logo which indicates the source of the product or service. So there are various ways to protect your intellectual property. And if you have a copyright, you can apply for a copyright registration with the United States Copyright Office. If you have a trademark, you can apply to the United States Patent and Trademark Office for registration of your trademark. And if you have an invention of some kind, you can apply for a patent. There are different applications, different nuances, and each take a different amount of time. However, there are common law rights associated with your intellectual property, meaning that you don't need to have registration of your copyright or of your trademark. However, there are many, many benefits to registration, and you should register if you can, because not all what you may think is intellectual property is protectable. For instance, I mentioned the last time in the trademark arena, descriptive names are not protectable, such as, I think I mentioned the last time, the example Riverdale Dry Cleaners. That's a descriptive name that would not be capable of trademark protection. But if you do use a suggestive name or an arbitrary name, and you're branding that, you do have common law rights. So you are somewhat protected.
Yeah. I want to talk for those people who may not be so familiar about penalties, because listen, with these things come consequences and penalties. What are the potential consequences and penalties if someone does take pictures, copyright infringement, trademark infringement? What can a person be looking at?
Depending, of course, on the severity and whether or not they're obtaining economic benefit from the use of those items that they've taken without permission, they could face a lawsuit for infringement, which would include if the copyright was registered or the trademark was registered, statutory damages. They would have to pay the other party's attorney's fees, and they'd be sued in federal court. So there's a lot at stake. And I always tell my clients, when in doubt, ask for permission. Because a lot of times, owners of copyright will allow uses of their material for certain reasons. But if it benefits the user economically, then permission probably will not be granted. So you can't just take what you like without paying for it. You should you should ask for a license or license to use or permission.
Very simple instructions. For some, not so easy to do. Kathryn,
Right.
thanks so much for being with us here on Open.
Thank you so much for having me, Daren. Great to see you.
Great to see you again. And always, if you want to find out more information about Kathryn, the work, trademarks, copyrights, all you got to do is go to suffolklaw.com, suffolklaw.com, and there you can find out more. And I'm sure Kathryn will be glad to help you out. All right, listen, taking a quick break. We've got more show. Don't go anywhere. Open continues coming up right after this. Welcome back to the show. Well, throughout the course of the pandemic, pharmacists have played an important role in the management of the COVID-19 issue. Community and special pharmacies will continue to be a focal point of healthcare delivery in various communities all across our nation. Now, there's been a promise of long overdue relief, which has kept afloat independent pharmacies that otherwise would have closed their doors over the last year, but hung on to the commitment to keep their communities healthy even as they began to lose money. Here now to tell us more is the operations manager at Mount Carmel Pharmacy, Javier Maldonado. And Javier, good to have you here on Open.
Thank you for the opportunity. Pleasure to be here with you.
Good to have you. Introduce us to an independent pharmacy. We know about pharmacies. There's Walgreens, there's CVS, but when you talk about an independent pharmacy, how do you define that?
So you look at the independent community pharmacy as that beacon of hope in the communities that they serve. When you look up and down the block, it's in many cases the one professional establishment that individuals can go to. In regards to access to healthcare, pharmacies and pharmacists are quite frankly the most accessible providers in the healthcare system. And when you think of doctors and when you think of going to your clinics and going to the hospitals, you need to have that insurance card in order to actually see a doctor or be seen by a doctor. Otherwise, you have out-of-pocket expenses. When you think of your local community pharmacy, 7 days a week, you're able to go into that pharmacy and receive professional medical counsel. You're able to receive information about the medications you're on. You're able to speak and discuss your conditions, your symptoms with a licensed professional pharmacist. And that access is free to anyone who decides to walk into that door. Very different from any other professional licensed individual.
Yeah. So when you have independent pharmacies, obviously there are some benefits to the community, but being an independent pharmacist, you also have some challenges as well. COVID-19 has definitely impacted everyone, and particularly right in the borough of the Bronx, the hardest hit. But then you as an independent pharmacist, you've also had to deal with some financial struggles. Share with us a little bit about that.
So sure, as the pandemic hit, many independent pharmacies had to reduce hours in its efforts to help maintain social distancing, help prevent people from being out and about at later hours. And so we had to reduce hours. Obviously, reducing hours prevents the amount of customers and patients that you are able to serve in any given day. As a result of the pandemic, we've also had to increase home delivery. And those are expenses and costs that an independent pharmacy picks up. Those are not expenses that are passed through to an insurance company. Those are not expenses that are picked up by anyone. There is no charge for our delivery service. It is free to our patients and free to the population that we serve. In addition to that, you also have an increase in patients who are looking for better ways to manage their medication, whether it's adherence packaging, whether it's medication synchronization, whether it's MTMs, where we're counseling patients on the medications that they're on. These are all different services that you're able to receive from your community pharmacy at no additional expense. And you take it a step further, not only is it at no additional expense to the individual who's receiving the service, it is an expense to the business owner who's running the business and offering those services. And we offer those services because we've entered this space. We've entered pharmacy, we've entered healthcare to take care of people. And that is what's our primary focus. It's why we keep our doors open every single day. It's why during this pandemic, not one day did Mount Carmel Pharmacy close its doors, because we recognize the responsibility that we have to the public and the community that we serve. Closing our doors it isn't a business decision, or keeping our doors open, I'm sorry, is not a business decision. It's a decision based on the public and the community that we serve. Where will our patients get their medication? Where will they get their insulin, pain management? And you think of the list of other services that are offered from the pharmacy that patients rely on to live their daily lives. You close those doors, you close that beacon of hope to the community.
Give me this here, because when we talk about closing doors, it's a possibility for a lot of independent pharmacies, because you guys were looking for possible financial relief from New York State that has not yet occurred. Talk to us about that, the money that you were anticipating to help you to keep the doors open, but still has not yet happened.
Yes, absolutely. I believe, in New York, pharmacists feel deeply betrayed by elected officials in Albany right now, especially when it comes to the Medicaid fee-for-service program, which we were being told to hold on, that it was coming, and lo and behold, it doesn't look like it's coming. And the effect of that is it makes it difficult for a business owner to run their business in an unpredictable revenue model. Currently, the way it stands, we can't forecast budgets for the year. We can't make informed business decisions when we don't know how we're going to be reimbursed, when the predictability of that revenue model is unstable. And what that does is it leads you in a position where how much longer can you continue to keep those doors open? How much longer can you continue to be in the communities that you serve and be of value to those communities if you can't keep those doors open? When you're getting paid pennies, and I mean literally pennies, on prescriptions that you fill, it doesn't even cover the expense of the ingredient. And even if it does cover the expense of the ingredient, it doesn't cover the expense of where that medication is being put into, whether it's a bottle, flask. It doesn't cover the cost of the labels to put on that medication. It doesn't cover the cost of the labor that is involved, the pharmacist who has to review that prescription, check that prescription, the technician who has to count that prescription out, the delivery personnel that has to take that medication to the patient. And all of those pieces that occur behind closed doors, behind the scenes, to get that prescription that is prescribed from that doctor into the pharmacy, filled, and to the ultimate end user, who's that patient who needs the medication. There are many steps that go on before that actually occurs. And when you're not being reimbursed in a manner that can sustain that type of business model, it leaves you questioning whether you can keep those doors open anymore.
Yeah. And real quickly, I know that you've decided to give back to the community in your own kind of way. We got about a minute left. Share a little bit about the give back.
So we've done a lot within our communities with regards to COVID testing, with regards to COVID vaccination. During the height of the pandemic, we were partnered with the local Boys and Girls Club, where we were offering PPE packages to give out to the community and to give out to families who needed it and didn't have the means to get it or the access to get it. So we partnered with local charity organizations such as that to help give back to the communities that we serve. We realized that the only reason we have the business that we have today are for those patients, are for those customers, and are for those individuals who live in the communities that we serve. They give us the opportunity to be of service and to be of value, and we thank them each and every day that we're given that opportunity to serve them.
Javier, Maldonado, definitely great to have you on the show. Great work that you guys are doing, and hopefully we can see some good things happen for the people over at Mount Carmel who definitely need it in that community. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you. Pleasure.
All right, now I want to let you know now, if you want more information, we encourage you, go ahead and visit their website at mountcarmelpharmacy.com. Again, mountcarmelpharmacy.com. Now, we do have more show. Don't want you to go anywhere. Stay with us. Open will return right after this.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at bronxnet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
And welcome back to the show. FreshDirect has pioneered online grocery shopping by offering the best in fresh food since the year 2002. Now, recently, the organization is helping to bring business to restaurants with the help of FreshDirect's expert merchant team. 3 New York City culinary favorites, Carbone, Namois, and Milk Bar, are debuting. Now, restaurant-inspired products for customers to prepare in their kitchens as well as enjoy at the dining table. And so here now to share a little bit more is the category manager for prepared foods at FreshDirect, Sandra Chan. And Sandra, good to have you with us.
Hey, Daren, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And so actually you're doing something unique in terms of bringing business, restaurants, and combining the two. So share with us a little bit about what's happening here.
Yeah, so I mean, it's no secret during the pandemic, the restaurant community has been really put through the ringer, to say the least. So having the opportunity to develop these retail programs alongside them or to help support them on the business end has been a really great opportunity for us. And it gives the businesses a chance to not only be creative with their products, but to also create a new revenue stream for those restaurants that are looking for ways to expand their business model and basically their bottom lines. So these, as these brands start to grow, they start to explore what it means to create like a consumer packaged good, or what we call a CPG. And we jump in at different levels of that production journey for them. So sometimes it's early in conception, which we've done for, you know, a local pizzeria like Juliana's, or a local catering group like Restaurant Associates, which I can talk more about later. But also, sometimes we jump in at the very end of it where they have a full concept and they're ready to go to market. And then we're just happy to jump in and get those products out there and talk about them in the best way possible, like Carbone, Milk Bar, and Namois.
Yeah, let's talk about that here. So talk about Carbone for a minute. Give me a little bit about their rollout.
Yeah, so basically they are taking what they already do so well. You know, they're just famously New York City Italian American, and they're making their sauces available to everyone at home. So they're packaging a number of sauces. There are 3 of them in which we will carry. It's a marinara, an arrabbiata, and a tomato and basil. Those are launching retail ready and will basically be one of the first retailers to carry them, which is very exciting.
Yeah, and then you got Namois.
Namois, so Namois Tea Parlor, a personal favorite of mine. They are launching retail packs of their dim sum and dumplings. So they're pretty early in their stages as far as us being a retailer for them. I think our first one to carry will be their vegetable dumpling, but all of the meat-based products will be a little bit further down the road, but they are working on those certifications right now, which is really exciting.
And also share with me a little bit about Milk Bar.
Milk Bar. So Milk Bar, amazing. You know, Christina Tosi, famous for the compost cookies. So we were really excited to be able to make those cookies and their crumb bars available to anybody at home whenever they want.
So as this happens here, obviously this is a win-win for both the business and then also for FreshDirect and ultimately the consumer. Talk to us about how you see the consumer how this benefiting them in that kind of way.
Sure. So we think that, you know, the way that people are consuming and shopping right now has completely changed. Yes, we do miss going out to restaurants, and this is the restaurant's way of getting themselves into where their customers are, which are at home. But this also, you know, changes a little bit of how the customer is consuming at home, making things very easily accessible for them, having sauces like Carbone to really like level up what they're already doing at home.
Yeah. And when you talk about the revenue stream, obviously this also creates a new revenue stream. Restaurants, we know, have suffered tremendously throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. And so in some ways, I know in many ways, this partnership also helps out restaurants in taking that, that revenue stream a step further.
100%. So we even have a more grassroots approach that we've been trying to take. Like I mentioned earlier, Juliana's Pizza and Restaurant Associates were 2 programs that we, worked with recently. Restaurant Associates directly after the pandemic, right? So they are a catering group that were working with a lot of businesses that had offices in the city, and when those offices shut down, they needed a way to help support their employees. So having, like I said, a more grassroots approach with how we work with these companies, where we're taking their product and helping them do the development, talk about packaging, really help and handhold what it looks like for them to go to market with a product. It's really fulfilling for us because in a way we're giving back to the community that has always supported us. Especially like with Juliana's as well, like they have this amazing pizza They wanted to be able to get out to everybody, but nobody could come see them. So we talked about what shelf life looked like. And with such a nuanced supply chain like FreshDirect, we knew that not always would these products be able to work specifically for us, but even just having the opportunity to have this conversation with them, for them to maybe go to market with somebody else, was still something that we wanted to give back.
So as we move forward towards the spring, summer, well, we're in the spring right now, right ahead to a spring, summer. Give us a little bit about what's going to be happening with the work that you're doing in FreshDirect as we change seasons here.
I know. So, I mean, we know that once everything starts opening up and warming up, people are wanting to get out there. I know for me in particular too, but I think that as, you know, online grocery has really grown, and I think that's here to stay. There was always this, you know, level of unknown when it came to online grocery, since we're so used to going in and seeing our produce and holding things and doing that. But I think that the level of service and quality that FreshDirect has been able to give during the pandemic for our new customers has really resonated and pacified those concerns, because we're seeing tremendous growth and retention, which is great.
So we want to thank you for coming and sharing, but I wanted our viewers to know that it's an opportunity for, you know, them to actually see some great products that actually come in their way. So Sandra, thank you so much for being with us here on Open, and looking forward to seeing and hearing more from you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All righty. Well, listen, if you want to find out more information, please don't forget to go to the FreshDirect website. You can find out all that's going on there, all the new things that are happening, in addition to how you can actually get connected. Want you to stay with us. We have more show coming up. Don't go anywhere. Open returns coming up right after this. And welcome back. COVID-19 has become infamous for its unpredictability, with people who can contract it experiencing a wide range of symptoms or none at all, which can vary greatly in severity. The same seems to be true of recovery. Scientists around the world are still discovering how the virus affects the body, whether a person has recovered from COVID-19, received the vaccine, or neither. Understanding the immunity and how long it lasts can help to give you an important insight into how you can interact safely with others during the pandemic. Here now to tell us more is the owner of Washington Heights Wellness, Dr. Rosanna de la Cruz. And Dr. de la Cruz, good to have you.
Good being back, Jaime. Thank you for having me.
Glad. So when we talk about this here, we talk about people who experience COVID-19. And for so many people, we know that more than 500,000 Americans have died, but millions more affected and infected. For a person that's been infected by the virus, the question about immunity, how long before they could possibly contract COVID-19 again? It's been a wide-ranging question, but I'll ask you your perspective.
We really don't know. It really depends on the body's ability to keep the antibodies in place, and also the amount of antibodies that we have. And that is the key. It's good to do frequent testings just to make sure. There hasn't been a specific statistic that says that many people have had the virus again after having it. It is possible, just like any other virus, to have it again. So it's still very important to be cautious and prudent, to make sure that not only are we keeping our immune system balanced and prepared for not only COVID, but also any other virus or diseases, but also to ensure that those people that got infected don't get it again.
So when you are infected, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you know, they feel, well, their mind goes to the worst, knowing that the fatality is attached to it. But we know that millions more have actually been infected and still do recover. But the question is, what can people do in order to recover?
So the main thing is it's almost like going to war. Any disease that we have, the body is in our favor, is always healing itself. And it's important for us to take precaution, but also for us to take action. Some of the things that we can do is definitely the mindset is very important, because if we're very anxious and scared and very stressed out over having the virus, potentially getting it, that automatically suppresses the immune system. So it's important to continue to have a positive mental attitude and have some mindset routines, such as spending time breathing, which is very good for the lungs, and also not being stressed out, because the body doesn't have enough energy to protect us from other things. The other things that we can do, not only to recover, also to prevent the virus, is to keep the body in the best shape possible. And this means having a whole food diet, make sure that we're getting enough hydration. Water is one of the best fluids to drink. Having broths, because they all have a lot of minerals and vitamins, to make sure that our immune support is in place if anything attacks us, including the COVID virus. And also very important, and everyone talks about this, is sleeping. It's extremely important to sleep 7 to 8 hours at night. For those people that work at night, which we live in New York, so lots of people work at night, it's good to get in some type of routine to make sure that at least we're getting 7 to 8 hours at night while they are off, their day off. So those are simple things that people can do. And of course, there are supplements and many healthcare practitioners that dedicate themselves to help people recover and also prevent disease, like us here at Washington Heights Wellness.
Yeah, we hear these terms, and we hear these terms constantly, whether we're watching TV or, just in conversation. Different kinds of terms associated with COVID-19. Just want to go through a couple of them, give us a breakdown of that definition. So when we talk about natural immunity, what does that mean?
It's basically the ability of the body to heal itself, and also is kind of having soldiers inside our body. When we are presented with any virus, including the COVID virus, if we already been infected, it's more like little soldiers waiting. The virus comes in and says, well, I already know you, so you can't beat me. I beat you already. So we become stronger and more resilient if we are faced with the same infection. But also it's about us having the response of the body. So it's important to be prepared. And some of those tips that we share are some of the tips that our patients use, not only to prevent the virus, but also to recover from it. So the antibodies are very important. That is also one of the ways that they measure the vaccine, to make sure that that we are protected, as well as the antibodies that are left over. That's like the alive soldiers, if you want to call them, or the cells and the antibodies that fought the virus. So it is important to continue to support the immune system, so those antibodies can last longer and prevent a second infection or even the first infection for those people that don't have antibodies.
Yeah. Also, tell me a little bit about, we hear this word herd immunity. What's herd immunity?
So herd immunity is very important. And I got to say, I am not in favor or against the vaccine. I think that most of my patients have received the vaccines and they have not had any issues with it. And that is a way of getting herd immunity. Herd immunity is basically, if we are in a big gathering and we have a herd of people, a lot of people together, if all of us are already immune to the virus, that causes herd immunity. So people don't get sick, even though we are together in these large groups. And that is how either people that had the antibodies or have them still, or the people that had the vaccine can be gathering together without infecting each other, because we now have all these people together, but we're all immune to it. And therefore we cannot infect each other.
Dr. De La Cruz, you provide a lot of helpful insight to us today. I want to thank you for coming and being with us here on Open. And of course, we would love to have you back.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure and an honor. Thank you, Jaime, and be well.
All right, you be well too. All right, well, listen, we want to let you know if you want more information, please don't hesitate to go to the website. If you want to go to the website, it is acupuncturelocal.com, and then you can call them at 646-922-7647. Got more show, open returns. We'll be right back in a few. And we are back here on the show. Germ Officers, the leading provider of professional janitorial cleaning solutions for commercial and residential sites. The organization specializes in germ and COVID-19 protection, cleaning and disinfection, and also uses hospital-grade antimicrobial disinfectants. Their mission is not to only be known as a staple that flattens the curve of COVID-19, but furnishes healthy products and practices for your home or business. And here now to share more is the founder of Germ Officer, Margaret Reid. And Margaret, glad to have you here on Open.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Glad to have you. And as we talk a little bit about your work and your company, very vital during COVID-19. And as we look, I mean, the work that you do is very instrumental in making sure that businesses, homes, wherever people are really safe. So share with us a little bit about Germ Officer.
So originally, the company began because of my 6-year-old son. His name is Hunter. And it was during this time where it was very scary. As we all know, we were in a pandemic. We still are in a pandemic. Everyone should realize that. Anyhow, my son is the only child. So him not being able to interact with his friends or be around his friends, caused major bearings on him. So one day I walked into his room and he was crying, and I asked him, what's wrong? He says, I miss my friends. This pandemic is boring. That's what he labeled it as, boring. I just need, I need my friends. What can we do to help? And I was like, well, at this time, this was right before I got my certification through Johns Hopkins University for COVID disinfection. I didn't really know too much about it. I was just listening to what the news was saying, which is everyone should wear their mask. So that's what I told him. Everyone should just wear their mask. If everyone wears their mask, then we'll be able to make a curve and we'll be more safe. He said, all right, Mom, that fixes it. Let's give everyone a mask. So I said, I don't think we can do that, but you may be onto something. So we started constructing masks at home and, finding different comfortable ways for you to wear masks and especially the most effective way. And that's when I decided to go get my certificate through Johns Hopkins University so that I can learn everything about this virus. So from there on, we started constructing masks. He was giving me ideas on how, children may like them to look. And I had a great model, which is my son. So it initially started out as a personal protective equipment company. And my background is in the medical field. And I've always wanted to go and do a cleaning service for commercial. But because of the time that we're in right now, I thought that it was important that we also do it for residential. So that's why I do service residential sites as well. Mm-hmm. So that was that's how it originated through my son. And
so right now, tell us, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Tell us a little bit about the services actually that are provided through your company right now.
So it's more or less what we don't do, because honestly, we do everything when it comes to cleaning and disinfecting. Our mission is to protect and disinfect. So that's our what we go for, and what we stand for is protection and disinfection. And of course, we have to make it look shiny. So your original statement was, what do we do? So as you can see, as you stated earlier, we do COVID cleaning. This is actually our COVID cleaner right here. We do offer this COVID cleaner to other cleaning companies as well as schools, but they have to go through our training program in order to have it. The training program is about 3 weeks. So, you know, I can teach someone how to use this machine, but how to properly disinfect, you can't do that in a day, you know. So the 3-week program is to teach you how to properly disinfect areas, what you should look for, how you should clean it, how do you go about, you know, like looking at the different services and knowing what's clean and what's sterile and things of that nature. So it's a 3-week program that we do here, and it's been great. We have a few cleaning companies that has decided to go ahead and get our germ officer COVID cleaner. This is called an electric sprayer. So an electric sprayer is a little bit different because when you spray it, like say for instance, you use a regular spray bottle and you spray that spray bottle, you'll see the surface that it goes onto. What this has, it has these electrolytes that can cover areas that we won't be able to see. And it covers it completely. So that's why individuals use the electric sprayers, because these are the ones that can cover all areas, as opposed to just a little spray bottle. So we do that. We do the COVID-19 cleaning. We do disinfecting. We do cleaning, carpet cleaning, power washing. So if you have an area in your at your commercial site or your residential site that looks, you know, dirty, that you may feel like you need to replace it, you should just come to us first before you go ahead and replace it. We have contractors as well. So if you do want to replace it, we do have contractors that can do that for you. But if you hire us, we can at least bring them with us. We'll take a look at it. We'll see if it could just be cleaned with our power washing services, as opposed to you going ahead and refinishing your brick or refinishing your vinyl on your home or resurfacing your concrete on the floors and things of that nature. So that's the great thing about Germ Officer, because we do have other companies that work well with us, and we gather them, we work together, and we make sure that we provide the best services for our clients.
Yeah, well, we want to thank you so much for being with us and sharing a little bit about Germ Officer. And we do know if you're going to clean, there's a method to the madness, if you will. You just can't just do it. You have to have the special way about doing it. So, Margaret, thank you so much for being with us.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Glad to have you here on Open. Want to let you know, Margaret Reid, the founder of Germ Officer. Now, if you want more information, please visit their website, germofficer.com, and you can call at 1-844-GERM-OFF. That's 844-437-6633. Well, we've come to the end of our show today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us, but most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the Recablecast on BronxNet Channel 67. Also, if you're watching on Verizon Files 2133 or anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. Now, if you want to catch a brand new episode, my girl, Rena Valentine, she comes back on Friday, bringing us arts, entertainment, and also some COVID-related matters as well. Until then, I'm Daren, Jaime saying take care, God bless, and most of all, keep this channel wide open.